So I work with a lot of moms who experience postpartum blues or postpartum depression. I experienced postpartum blues and I've experienced depression multiple times throughout my life. Um, so one of the first things that I tell moms that I'm helping through what can feel like an incredibly heartbreaking experience is that you are not a monster, not even a little bit. You're one of the many, many, many women who experience postpartum blues or depression. According to a study published in Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, 1 in 9 women experience symptoms of postpartum depression. And they actually believe that that number is much higher because a lot of moms that experience these symptoms never tell anybody because sadly, a lot of moms still feel like there's a lot of shame around that, even though there absolutely should not be. And part of that shame comes from moms thinking that the lack of connection that they feel with their baby means that they're missing some like crucial good mother chip. But that's not it at all. The postpartum blues, even postpartum depression, it is often caused by wonky hormones, extreme exhaustion, really intense changes. There is a lot that can impact your ability to bond, and none of that is your fault, not even a little bit. But just because the reasons that you're facing that depression or the blues, even though they're not dark and sinister, it doesn't mean that you're not feeling like this is the end of the world, right? Many of us are given the consistent message, especially during pregnancy, that the bond between the mother and the baby is unbreakable, that it is the greatest love story you'll ever experience. And when that is not your experience, it can feel like the end of the world, like absolutely earth-shattering. So as heartbreaking as that is, and there are ways through that I'm going to get to, something that's so important to remember during this time is that these feelings are temporary. Depression is really good at convincing you that you will feel this way forever, but that is rarely the case, especially if you seek support. And going back to postpartum blues, if you're sad and feeling like it's hard to create that bond in the first 2 weeks during or after you have the baby, know that you're probably experiencing postpartum blues that almost all moms experience on some level. It is mainly due to the like plunging hormone levels combined with fatigue. If that sadness and that difficulty to connect with your baby lasts longer than 2 weeks, then you might be experiencing postpartum depression, which is a great time to seek care from your care provider. You don't need to wait until you've been, experiencing depressive symptoms for 6 months. If it goes on for longer than 2 weeks, go ahead and let your care provider know. And even before 2 weeks, you can let them know. Just say, hey, I'm like feeling really sad and I don't like this feeling. I need somebody to talk to about it. It's also important to remember that you are not scarring your child during this time. You are not destroying any chance of a future bond with them. The mother-child bond develops over a lifetime, and it is okay if it doesn't like immediately happen. Take that pressure off of yourself. And again, know that once you seek that medical, emotional, psychological support, that it will likely start to get better, even if it takes a little bit of time. Again, getting on a medication or going to see a therapist once isn't just this magical cure. It takes some time, so again, be flexible with yourself. And, regarding that support, it's so sad, but only, about 60% of women with symptoms of postpartum depression, they don't receive a clinical diagnosis because they never tell anybody. And 50% of the women who get a diagnosis don't move forward with the treatment. Again, that boils back down in so many ways to the shame I talked about before. And sometimes there's a lack of access to that treatment, which is a huge issue. Every woman that experiences postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, every single woman should absolutely have access to quality care, and that's a whole other video. But if you have access to that care, absolutely take it. And as an added incentive to seek support when you're feeling depressed, know that studies have shown that while postpartum depression can cause short-term impacts on the baby, there's rarely any long-term effects if the mother receives treatment early on. Okay, so what to do? The first step in getting support is going to see your medical care provider. You can tell them how you're feeling, and they'll ask you certain questions, and they'll help you move forward from there. They might prescribe a medication, which can be really helpful. And in addition to that, or as a substitute for medication, it depends on your unique circumstances, they'll likely make a referral for a mental health specialist who specializes in postpartum depression. So that's a really, really great first step. And once they make that referral, it is crucial to call that person, to go in for counseling, to go in for those appointments, and to be really consistent with it, because it can only work if you show up. When I was severely depressed, I would feel so listless that I would skip so many of my appointments with my therapist, and shockingly, it didn't work for me very well because I wouldn't show up. When I experienced depression again, I really became dedicated to like showing up, to going to my appointments. Even if I felt like I couldn't get out of bed, I would FaceTime the therapist, and it worked. You know, even on the days where I felt like I don't really have anything to talk about, I just feel sad, that's all I have to say, it made me feel better knowing that I just showed up. I showed up for myself. I honored my commitment to the therapist, and it was really supportive. I was also on medication both times, which really helped me a lot. Medication is not the right choice for everybody, but for me, the combination of medication and therapy worked, and it took time, but it worked. All right, finding quality care for your baby is also really important during this time, because being their sole caregiver when you are navigating depression can be really tricky, and you and the baby absolutely deserve support. So reaching out to friends, family members, if you don't have anybody like that nearby, a nonprofit organization that pairs mothers with postpartum doulas or postpartum support at a discounted rate or even pro bono can be really great. And I know it can be hard to be open about your depression with other people, but know that more often than not, people are going to be so much more understanding than you expect. And these people are going to want to help and want to support you and the baby through this time. So finding that quality care, setting up a regular schedule for it so you have plenty of time to go and see your therapist, to take a nap, to really nurture yourself as you get through postpartum depression. Continuing to spend time with baby is another one. While being with the baby might be a painful reminder of how disconnected you feel, it's important to continue being with them, even if you feel like you have to fake the affection. Because the more you're with them, especially if you're seeking professional treatment, that's going to help you slowly develop that bond. So again, really push yourself to still spend time with the baby, even if you don't feel that really deep connection, and just keep reminding yourself that even if I don't feel it right now, it will come. I'm supporting myself. I'm helping myself through this depression. My connection with my baby will come. All right. If you've experienced postpartum depression and you have any ideas that you found really helpful, please let us know in the comments below. If this is something you're experiencing right now and you have any additional questions, please let me know in the comments below. And if what you're experiencing is really severe, or if you are having thoughts about harming your baby, definitely let your care provider know. It does not mean you're a monster at all. It means that you need support. So contact your care provider as soon as possible if you feel like that's what you're experiencing. All right, sending you so much love.